Hi everyone, I'm CaliKim. Welcome to my garden. Today I'm going to share with you 5 vegetables to plant in August. Why in August and what's so special about these plants? That's what I'm going to tell you in this video. Let's go. First off, what's so special about these vegetables? Well, these are cool weather vegetables. They thrive in temperatures under 75 degrees. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, it's August, it's hot outside. My garden is still covered in shade cloth. Well, you want to get these vegetables planted now in August. So by the time the temperatures do cool off, you'll have transplants ready to put into your garden as your summer veggies are dying off, and you'll have these veggies to harvest into the fall. Since they're frost tolerant, you can even harvest them into the winter months. You're probably wondering, what are the 5 must-plant veggies for August? My favorite are broccoli, cabbage, gotta love that coleslaw, cool weather herbs like dill, parsley, and chives, leafy greens like arugula, mustard greens, and kale. I've been growing these cool weather seedlings indoors under grow lights just for this moment, so I could show you all how to grow them yourselves and have a great fall harvest. And number 5, one of the easiest of all to grow in the fall, are peas. All of these veggies can be direct seeded in your garden bed or in containers, but the caveat is, if it's over 75 where you live right now, it's way too hot to plant them outside. So what you're going to do is start from seed indoors, similar to what you would do in the spring, to get your transplants ready to plant outside in the garden when the weather cools down. If it's already 75 degrees or under where you live, you can get these planted right in your garden beds or containers. Or if your garden beds are full, just start them in 6-packs and put them on your deck rail or your balcony. Let them grow to transplant size and then plant them out in your garden. Little caveat for you southern gardeners like us here in Southern California, maybe you're in Texas, Arizona, Florida, those really hot states, that things don't cool down until October, November. You're going to want to wait to plant these until mid-October, and then the perfect cool weather months are usually November through March. The key to growing a fall garden and getting a good harvest is to grow smaller, more compact vegetables so you can get a harvest before cool weather hits in your area. You are going to want to check your first frost date. You can find this over at weather.com just by entering in your zip code. And then check the maturity date on the seeds that you're growing. Count backwards and start those vegetables about 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date. Now the first vegetable I'm going to plant today is broccoli. Not a normal broccoli. This is a more compact, smaller variety. It's actually a semi-dwarf variety. It's from my fall garden seed collection called DeCisco broccoli. An amazing variety because you're going to get a harvest in about 60 to 70 days as opposed to 90 days from traditional broccoli. They're nice, small, compact plants that you can grow them in a container. The heads are medium-sized, about 3 to 5 inches. And the cool thing about this variety is that it produces side shoots once you harvest the main head, which means you extend your harvest time even more. So I just popped 3 or 4 or 5 seeds in each 6-pack here, sprinkling a little bit of soil over the top. And if all the seeds come up, I can always thin them as they grow. I'm going to spray them with water and keep them moist throughout the germination process. Now I'm going to pop these under grow lights indoors. When the temperatures are anywhere between 60 to 75 degrees, they're going to germinate in about 7 to 10 days. I've actually had a little bit of a problem getting seeds to germinate that are cool weather seeds indoors right now, because even inside our temperatures are between 75 and 80 degrees. Now, if it's cool enough in your garden to get these planted directly in your raised beds or containers, you want to space them about 18 inches apart, or 1 to 2 plants in at least a 10 to 20 gallon container. Vegetable number 2 is cabbage. We love cabbage fresh and raw in coleslaw or stir-fried in Asian dishes. Got red trumpet cabbage here and red acre cabbage, which is in my fall garden seed collection. And it's really nice to plant smaller varieties because you can go from seed to harvest quicker, especially if you have a short growing season. So I'm going to pop in some of the red acre cabbage seeds into my 6-pack. Red acre cabbage is simply one of the best early maturing varieties that you can grow. It produces beautiful reddish purple heads that grow to about 7 inches in diameter and weigh about 3 pounds. It's great for gardeners that have little space. You can also grow it in a container. And the thing I love about it is that it stores better than just about any other early cabbage variety. You can harvest in about 70 to 80 days, a lot quicker than the 90 to 100 days of huge cabbage heads. and it's mild and sweet flavor, perfect for salads, slaw, and cooked dishes. Next to plant in August are cool weather herbs. There's no better way to punch up the flavor of your dishes than with garden fresh herbs. And my three favorites are chives, dill, and parsley. Now, one strategy I like to use for herbs is to plant them in containers and grow them in containers in fall, and then in the wintertime bring them inside so you have garden fresh herbs when it's too cold to grow them outdoors. You can grab these as well as my fall garden seed collection over at CaliKimGardenandHome.com. They're 30% off right now with the code FALLGARDEN. I'm going to plant some garlic chives, which are in my fall garden seed collection. I already have lots of onion chives, but it'll be nice to have the variety of flavor. And by the way, in my 6-packs and in my containers here, I'm using my seed starting mix, DIY to save money. It's made up of coco coir, vermiculite, and worm castings. There's a link in the video description so you know exactly how to make it. These are gonna pop up in about 7 to 10 days. In about 4 weeks, you'll be harvesting beautiful chives that look something like this. Now you can tell we've been harvesting our chives a lot. It's very easy to harvest. You just grab a handful, snip, which releases all the oils in the chives. It smells so good. And then we love just snipping these into our salads, scrambled egg. It just really pumps up the flavor. My herb seed collection has dill, parsley, as well as several other herbs. And dill is probably one of the easiest herbs to grow. The seeds smell absolutely amazing, and it's delicious to make dill pickles with, and also really, really good snip into salads and dips. So quick sprinkle of seeds, quick sprinkle of soil, spray of water, and bam, you're done. Last cool weather herb is parsley. I think one of the most underrated herbs ever. It's so much more than a garnish. It has so much flavor, and to boot, it freshens your breath. So you do need to have a little bit of patience with parsley. It does take a couple of weeks to germinate. And if the temperature is too hot, it may not germinate at all. And with parsley, you really want to make sure the soil stays moist while it's germinating for best germination rate possible. I thought you gardeners would enjoy seeing different parts of the garden, so we're going to plant our next crop, which is peas, right over here by the fountain planter. Peas are one of the easiest fall crops you can grow, growing from seed to harvest in about 6 to 8 weeks. And a lot of people think that you cannot start peas from seed indoors, but you can. Here I've got my pea seeds I started about 4 weeks ago. They're ready to plant out in the garden, but it's too hot. So I'm gonna plant a whole new 6-pack of peas so I have plenty to eat in the garden. Just gonna pop 2 seeds in each 6-pack cell. Just press them down into soil about a 1/4 inch, cover them up. They're going to germinate in cooler temperatures again in about a week or so and be ready to plant out in the garden in about 4 weeks. So the key is don't start your seeds indoors until about 4 weeks before the temperature gets consistently around 75 degrees. This will give your peas the best chance of doing very, very well in your garden. You can also succession plant peas every 3 to 4 weeks so you have continual harvests, and you definitely want to plant some type of a support or an arch to grow your peas over to maximize your garden space. They grow well in containers, in raised beds. And by the way, when you're planting in raised beds, once you pull out your summer crops, you definitely want to amend your raised bed soil, top it off with a fresh new layer of compost, some worm castings, mix all that in for good fertility for your fall crops. Let's wrap it up here in the chill zone with vegetable number 5, leafy greens. We love relaxing down here at night. It's always a fun place to plant our vegetables. Now, in my opinion, you can never have too many leafy greens, and I tend to go crazy with them. We've got to have the greens for our broccoli, peas, and other vegetables to go on top of. So some of my favorites are, of course, lettuce, the classic fall green. And again, what I like to do is plant some in containers, and that way when it gets too cold for them is you can bring your container inside and grow indoors in the winter for some indoor gardening. Now, one of my favorite lettuces of all times is called Marvel of 4 Seasons lettuce. This is an absolutely gorgeous variety and is really nice and buttery, beautiful butterhead variety. Lettuce is so easy to grow. You just sprinkle it over the surface of the soil. You press it down, and you don't even have to cover it because it likes light to germinate. It's going to germinate in about a week or so. One of my very favorite greens is arugula, a very quick growing green. You can literally harvest it in about 3 weeks from the time that you plant the seeds. Now, this is one green you can actually grow outdoors in the summertime if you provide it with a little bit of shade. And if you're kind of on the borderline, Between 75 and 80 degrees, what you can do is start these seeds outdoors in your 6-packs and then just cover them with a piece of shade cloth to give them a little bit of protection from the heat. And they will pop up literally in about a couple of days, and you'll be snipping and eating the zippy arugula in about 3 weeks. It makes such a delicious salad combination. Two of my other very favorite leafy greens are endive and kale, and they're also very cold tolerant. And I always like to have a couple of little salad stations going in these 5-gallon CaliKim Smart Pots. That way you have leafy greens of various textures, colors, and flavors, and they're just absolutely delicious. I'll put my kale seeds in the back. This is the gorgeous KX kale from my fall garden seed collection. Absolutely beautiful reddish purple foliage. Kale is one of those leafy greens that you could plant seeds right now, even in the hot summer, directly in your garden beds or your containers, and then it will grow throughout the early winter months. Sometimes kale will even survive hard freezes. A lot of great information in this video. Come fall, I'm always so glad I started my seeds, because that way I've got my fall garden established. When my summer garden is finishing up, I have lots more delicious veggies. I'll be reading your comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden.